product provided by Capcom. Time played at time of writing, 12 hours. Played on a PC. Of all of the spin-offs and side games that the Monster Hunter series has produced over its 20-year run, Monster Hunter Stories is perhaps the most interesting one. Turning the main game's roster of fierce boss fights into a Pokédex of collectible critters sounds like a creative home run, and the success of Monster Hunter Stories 2 back in 2021 proved that this idea had a home among the greats of the franchise. But while the sequel was successful and easily accessible, the original game eluded many new fans by comparison. Released on 3DS and iOS, with significant version differences across regions, it was not the easiest game to find and enjoy. I loved Monster Hunter Stories 2, but never managed to get a hold of the original game. So you can imagine how happy I was to hear that Capcom was remastering Monster Hunter Stories and re-releasing it for PS4, Switch, and Steam. I was even happier when they approached me and allowed me to play the first dozen hours of the game early. In this spoiler-free preview, I will share my impressions and thoughts with you, as someone who has been wanting to play the first Monster Hunter Stories game for ages. For those who may not know about this game series, a very quick refresher. Monster Hunter Stories is a reimagining of the Monster Hunter game formula. While the main games see you fighting monsters with action combat, Stories is a creature collection game in the style of Pokémon. You, a monster rider, collect and raise monsters, customize them to your needs, and then traverse the world and fight your way through monsters and other riders alike using their unique abilities and a turn-based combat system. Its cute art style and bright color palette make for a chill and cozy experience that hides a surprising amount of gameplay depth. This 2024 release of Monster Hunter Stories is a remastered re-release of the original Monster Hunter Stories, updated with upscaled graphics, voice acting, and additional goodies we'll get into. Right off the bat, Stories makes a strong impression with its HDification of the original's 3DS visuals. Character models, as well as those of your companion monsties, have chibi-like proportions which, together with the bright colors and simple geometry, produce a pleasant and relaxing atmosphere you can get lost in. At various points in the game, I felt transported back to watching a family friend play Spyro the Dragon, don't ask me which one, I was like 10, with wide open spaces that make up for lack of detail with confident design and aesthetic. Areas like the Monson Plains just beg for you to explore them, with rolling hills and forests inviting you to just take a few steps into it. I was also impressed with the render distance. While some things definitely pop in, the stuff you actually care about seeing, monsters and monster nests, are clearly visible from basically across entire maps. There are some seams and rough spots here and there. Not every texture seems to have survived the upscaling process perfectly, but it's overall a very competent offering for sure. The UI has also been given the HD treatment, and is mostly great. HUD elements are sharp, icons are easy to parse, text is readable, all the good stuff. I also like how sometimes item text is highlighted in colors depending on if you need it for a subquest. That really helped me. There are some minor blemishes, however. As the original game was designed for small, portable screens such as the DS or phones, these large panels for text made sense, but on a monitor or TV, they are just way too big. The gathering notification specifically takes up so much space that you often can't see where you're going, and the minimap is anything but mini. The result is that when you're out in the field, you're quite often going to have a very full screen that will not let you see all of what you might want to see. So, an option to size these down would be a very welcome change for the full release version. Speaking of remnants of the 3DS version, let's just make one thing clear. This is still a 3DS game at heart. So for example, many story moments and cutscenes are not presented as fully animated movies, but rather these character portrait text box style scenes. You can clearly see this as a result of this originally being on a handheld console. This is neither good nor bad, and I don't want this to sound like a criticism. It's just something that you should be aware of before buying it. Luckily, there is an auto text scroll option for all your cutscenes, so you don't need to keep pressing X to advance the story. You can just kind of let it play out as if it was just a regular cutscene. Lastly, a very quick word on performance. It's good. Across my entire playtime, I didn't encounter any noticeable stuttering or lag, as well as no visual bugs or glitches. On PC specifically, the game even supports a 144 FPS setting, which really surprised me considering the sequel did not have that. You start the game by creating a character and setting out on a journey to become a rider, one who tames and befriends all kinds of monsters. You do that by visiting towns and exploring open fields, by breaking into monster nests to steal their eggs, and of course, by using your monster companions to traverse the world and fight all that stand in your way. On this journey, you also encounter the Black Blight, a plague that threatens nature as you know it, while also following in the footsteps of a childhood friend gone rogue. I don't want to take too much away from the story, but rest assured, it's really solid. I was very surprised by how invested I got. What's equally solid is the gameplay. The turn-based combat has you fight alongside one of your monsters, which generally acts without your control. To win, you must use attacks of the right type to counter those of the enemy. Power beats tech, tech beats speed, and speed beats power. As you fight, you build up kinship, which is a resource you can cash out to either use skills of your own, take control of your monster and give it specific orders, or unleash powerful kinship attacks, ultimate moves unique to each monster. This simple system belies greater depth, as enemy patterns can get quite complex, and your own skills and abilities come with added nuances that can take some time to master. I ended up using the shield bash of the sword and shield weapon quite a lot, because it allowed me to stop enemies from hurting my monstie by stunning them. So I quite often found myself in a situation where I had to choose between supporting my monster by giving it a buff or giving it additional damage support, or by trying to protect it by bashing the enemy. It was a fun back and forth. While I would not call this game capital D difficult, it can catch you off guard with how challenging it can get, especially in some of the story boss fights. I won't say that it never got a little frustrating when monsters had patterns that I couldn't read, but overall it is quite engaging and fun. A mechanic that synergizes well with this depth is the rite of channeling. You get new monsters by grabbing eggs from monster dens, and each monster that hatches has its own set of genes. These can be active abilities like Fireball, or passive stuff like Fire Resistance. The rite of channeling then allows you to take genes from one monster and give them to another. This opens up an entire universe of customization, as you can now modify your monsters however you please. You can even entirely change the element of a monster, which will be visualized by a color change on the creature. A mechanic that was removed in the sequel, and one that I really loved playing with. It's just really cool being able to customize your monsters and see them actually change visually. I really had a lot of fun with it. Outside of combat, the game is a smooth and fun ride as well. Exploring the wide open zones with your monster friend is a ton of fun, and it's worth venturing into every corner for rare materials, monsters you might not encounter anywhere else, and, of course, Poogies. Yes, the fan favorite pig is back, and you can find 100 Poogies out in the world, all with different costumes for you to collect. These maps are not exactly open worlds, but they are open zones that you can explore freely whenever they are available, and once you've passed one of these areas, you can still come back and explore stuff later. In towns, you get to hang out with a colorful cast of characters and quest givers, including the absolute GOAT, Roberto. The game is really good at pacing itself, with both new locations and new gameplay features being introduced naturally and intuitively. I never felt overwhelmed or bored. There was always a new place, a new monster, a new mechanic to discover. This stinginess in giving you new stuff to play with all at once also allows for some interesting decision making. For example, you don't unlock the ability to actually craft new gear until quite some time into the game. This meant that for a majority of my playtime, I was making decisions based on what armor to buy, and playing more carefully because I couldn't just craft a super cool mega armor whenever I wanted to. It's also similar with what monsters you have access to for the game. I ended up using a lot of lower level critters for a longer time because the game paces itself so well and forces me to make use of whatever I have available at any given time. Again, I would not call any of this difficult in the big capital sense, but it definitely had me thinking about what to do way more than I expected when I first jumped into it. It's good stuff. One fun trick the game uses to keep you motivated is to continuously reward you. Obviously, side quests give out rewards, but so does seeing new monsters, hatching new monsters, and even finding enough Poogies. And these rewards are far from useless. While they sometimes consist of just crafting materials, they also often include new costumes for Naviru, stat boosters for your monsters, and even new moves for your weapon. Additionally, the aforementioned side quests cover a wide variety of tasks, from just gathering shrooms to fighting unique bosses and exploring specific sub-areas. Thanks to this, everything you do feels meaningful, and a sense of constant progress is maintained, even if you're just running around the environment looking for little pig boys. As far as entirely new additions to this remaster go, there are three major ones to cover. First and foremost, voice acting.
My skin is as soft as a Kelpie's fur. I don't look a day over 21, wouldn't you say?
I think we should perhaps humor him on this particular point.
The original game had no voices at all besides some grunting, so this re-release going back and dubbing all major story dialogue is really impressive, and I do want to hammer that home. I played the game with the English cast, and it's overall really good. It falls into that 80% cute, 20% cringe category that feels very appropriate for a game like this. I found it really charming in a cartoony way.
Think, what would your mother say? Cheval, this is a mistake. You know it.
Don't talk about my mother!
One issue I had though was that sometimes voice lines would not play in time and just got skipped. This often happened when I was out in the field and Naviru was trying to tell me something. It was rare, but a little jarring and worth mentioning. None of that matters though, because Roberto's voice actor from the sequel is back for this remaster, and delivers a hilarious performance through and through, including the most baffling accent I have ever heard.
Dude, that's not right! You crossed a line, bro!
It's so good. The second major addition is the museum, a gallery for the game's concept art and soundtrack. I don't want to show too much and spoil you, but as someone who loves seeing concept art, this is a goldmine. It helps that Monster Hunter art is always gorgeous, of course. A lot of the art and all of the soundtrack also comes with developer commentary, so if you're interested in reading what these people were thinking about while they were constructing some of these bangers, you can do that. It's really interesting, and I really wish more games would have this, frankly. The third major addition is that the remaster launches with all of the content that the original game only got as Japan-exclusive DLC. This includes new monsters, new customization options, and new quests. Since a lot of that stuff is post-game, I wasn't able to dive into it fully in time for this video, but it's good that it's there. If I get to do a full review of this game, I will definitely cover it though, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Overall, Monster Hunter Stories is shaping up to be a banger. It's a beautiful, fun, and beefy offering that is likely to delight both those who played and loved the original, as well as newbies like me. Any issues I had feel like nitpicks at most, and I can't wait to review the full game ahead of its release on June 14th. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to post them in the comments. I will try to answer as best as I can. Thank you for watching. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and again a thank you to Capcom for providing me with the game. As always, a very special thank you to all of our patrons, including Ronger97, Quali, El Zendo Carlo, Matthew Chung, My Name Gone, The Dollarfish, Yamiroth, Andre, Ryan Hook, Veraxas, Thick, Kuroneko, Zion H.V. Augenson, A.J. Rivera, Alistair, Jacob the Numb Nut, Soruka, Gungreatest, Sir Newt Newt, Emperor Eevee, Rambling Robin, Hashi, Black Ace 202, Dissy, Habo Himbro Mirror, Magenta Magenta, Danilo Villavicencio, Arcturian 711, Russell, Vulgar Beast, Person 212, Claire Miboon, Oakwood Tree, Mr. Pyramid, Makot 02, Project Iceman, Geo, Jamie Tate, Nils Schlatter, Iron Camel, and nah, I'm going to bed. Take care everyone, see you around.